Miles checked his watch, right on schedule. Since dawn, the orphanage had been a hive of activity, with the director orchestrating it all like a conductor. The little ones kicked off the day with a trip to a local theatre, then hit a playroom downtown, while the older kids spent the morning skiing at one of Miles's resorts. The second they were out the door, the place erupted into prep mode. The tree arrived and was hauled inside. The girls took over, decking out the assembly hall and dressing up the tree with lights and ornaments. By nightfall, when the kids got back, they'd eat dinner and crash. But tomorrow morning, that's when the real party would start. Miles grinned to himself. Good thing their sleepy little town only had a small orphanage. 50 kids, tops. If it were 200, he'd be sunk trying to pull off holidays this big. His phone buzzed in his pocket. He answered without glancing at the screen. "Miles, what's going on with you?" He winced, pulling the phone back from his ear a bit. "Margot, what's the problem now? What's got you all worked up?" Margot was his fiancée, or at least she'd decided she was. Miles had never really agreed or disagreed, just let it ride, figuring at 27 it might be time to settle down. Or maybe not. She'd trailed him out here from the city, which he'd liked at first. Later, he realized she was just waiting for him to pack up and head back. She kept dropping lines like, "Isn't it about time you patched things up with your dad so he'll call you back from this nowhere town?" "Margot, you keep acting like we're fighting. I like it here. I'm not going anywhere." "Oh, please, what's next? You're going to tell me you're staying here forever." "That's exactly the plan." She'd flash him that smile, the one that screamed she didn't buy it. He didn't waste energy arguing. Truth be told, he found her shallow. The longer they were together, the more she seemed obsessed with cash and status. Daughter of some hotshot businessman, she'd zeroed in on him at a swanky birthday bash, one of those glitzy events he tolerated but never loved. She'd made the first move, and by the end of the night, they were tangled up at her downtown condo. Margot was gorgeous, maybe too gorgeous. Back then, he'd thought she looked like a Barbie doll, which hooked him. Now, calling her that just annoyed him. "What's got me worked up? That my fiancé's a total moron." Miles frowned. He hated when people pushed too far, even ones he shared a roof with. "And?" "Miles, don't play dumb. I've been begging for a killer party all week and you're dodging me like you're broke. Then I hear you're throwing some big bash for those grubby little orphans. Okay, listen. 1, this isn't your business. 2, if you want a party, throw it yourself. Not at my place and not with my money. And 3, most important, Margot, I think you should head home." She gasped, all dramatic outrage. "Home? Oh, I get it. You used me and now you're done." "Did I ever say I needed you? You decided to come here. Didn't even ask if I wanted you to. Just showed up and moved in." The line went dead. Miles sighed. Why does it always end up like this? He'd come back to this town because he'd spent 2 years in this very orphanage. The memories weighed on him. If it weren't for the director and the staff, he might never have made it back to his dad. Miles sank into a chair. His legs felt heavy, and a dull throb kicked up in his head. It always did when he thought about those days. His father, Victor Carter, had been one of those guys who struck gold when opportunity knocked. In a single year, he'd gone from a regular engineer to owning factories, a regional paper, and a chunk of a shipping line. Success brought enemies, competitors who didn't mess around. Victor knew they'd play dirty, but targeting his family. They'd hounded him to sell off a small bottling plant. Someone wanted to pump out cheap soda and rake in the cash. Victor didn't budge without a damn good reason. Then the threats hit his wife, Clara. She worried herself sick, not for her own sake, but for Miles. Victor brushed it off as mind games. She always trusted him. It happened in broad daylight, walking through the park. Clara fought like hell for her son. They probably didn't mean to kill her, things just spiraled. But to grab Miles, they had to take her out. Victor got word fast. Within 15 minutes, his guys were tearing through the city, hunting for whoever took his kid. He raced to the hospital where they'd brought Clara, arriving just as she whispered, "Vic, save him." Her eyes shut for good. Victor jammed a pistol against the doctor's temple. Back then, most big-shot businessmen carried. "Save her! Do it!" The doc went white but didn't blink. "She's gone. We can't bring her back." Victor stared, then dropped the gun and collapsed beside her bed. They searched for Miles for over 3 months. Full throttle, no brakes. Eventually the pace slowed, though Victor never quit. The PI couldn't look him in the eye anymore. Every day that passed made it less likely Miles was still alive. Miles turned up at some rundown county hospital. He barely talked, eyes wide and hollow, body bruised all over. He didn't remember a thing. Nothing. His mind had locked it all away, maybe from watching his mum die, maybe from whatever came after. There'd been plenty of after, it looked like. He was 5, scared out of his wits, and couldn't say why. The fear was worse because his head was empty, just a black void. They sent him to this small-town orphanage, a few 100 miles from home. It was tiny, cozy almost, with staff who still gave a damn. It took 2 years to pull him back from the edge. He remembers those days, waking up, eating oatmeal, staring out the window, waiting. For what, he didn't know, but he had to wait. Then, one Christmas, something snapped him out of it. They brought in a tree, sparse, a little lopsided but real. The staff scrounged up old decorations from their attics, and the kids strung popcorn garlands. One afternoon, everyone gathered to trim it. Miles grabbed a little ornament, a glass ball with foil stars inside. He lifted it and froze. Mom loved these. She'd say they had snowflakes inside. Mom. Mom was gone. It slammed into him, sharp and real. Dad was gone too. He'd lost him. The ornament slipped, shattering on the floor, and he buried his face in his hands. A caregiver rushed over. She saw him go pale, hands shaking. "Miles, what's wrong?" He looked at her frantic, choking out, They killed my mom." They took him to the orphanage doc, Pearl Edith. He talked for ages, eyes squeezed shut, spilling everything flooding back. An hour in, she gave him a sedative to calm him down. Once he was out, Pearl went to the director. "We need to dig into reports from 2 years ago. Big city, maybe Chicago. I think his dad's loaded and his mom died right in front of him when they snatched him. There's got to be something." "That's a long shot." "I know." A few hours later, she had Victor's number. The director, Daphne Rose, made the call. "Mr. Carter?" "Yeah?" "This is the orphanage." The voice on the other end hardened. Daphne hesitated. She was still green at this job, unsure of herself. "Which orphanage?" She started explaining Miles's story, but he cut in. "You call the cops yet?" "No, we wanted to reach you first." "Don't. I'm coming." Daphne hung up, glancing at Pearl, rattled. "Well, what did he say?" "He's on his way and said hold off on the police." "Why?" "No clue. What if he's not who he says? What if he's one of them?" "Pearl, don't freak yourself out." An hour later, they called the cops anyway. Victor's gut had sharpened after everything. When a woman said orphanage, his heart stopped. He didn't need details. He knew Miles was alive. But doubt gnawed at him. If local PD missed a kid matching his description and his photo had been plastered everywhere, something stank. Maybe the people who took Miles had buddies on the force, or cash changed hands. Finding him was a win, but it could be a trap too. He leaned forward in the car. "Felix, floor it!" Felix groaned. "Mr. Carter, I'm good, but 80 miles an hour's pushing it on these roads. Trust me, we don't know what'll happen to the tires after this." "Screw the tires, we'll get new ones." "New tires won't help if we crash. Fast as a risk." Victor exhaled hard. Felix was right. The roads were a mess. A security car tailed them, 5 yards back. He'd brought muscle because too many pieces didn't add up. 2 hours later, the police rolled up. Daphne balked when one said they were taking the kid. "No chance. He's our responsibility, no paperwork, no kid." One of them glared. "You're resisting an order?" She wavered, then squared up. "Let's see some badges. I'll call your precinct." The second one shoved her into the wall. "Get the kid, now!" Pearl jumped in, but they tossed her aside. She'd have hit the floor if someone hadn't grabbed her. Suddenly, the cops were flat on their backs, pinned by big guys. A man stepped up to Daphne. "I asked you not to call the police." "But I thought it was the right move." What if you were the one who hurt his mum? Victor flinched. Miles knows she's gone. Yeah, it all came back yesterday before that. Well, I told you. Where's he at now? Victor needed to see his son, hold him, or he'd lose it. He's sleeping. We had to sedate him. Before he could ask more, a scream ripped down the hall. Dad! Daddy! Victor turned. Miles stood there, tears streaking his face, staring from a doorway. Son! Victor started toward him as Miles bolted forward. He scooped his boy up, clutching him tight. Miles, my son. They never split up again. Miles's recovery was slow. Nightmares jolted him awake, screaming, but his dad was always there. They hit the coast, learned to ski, spent whole days together. School started, giving him something else to focus on. One day in second grade, he turned to his father. Dad, can we talk? Victor looked up from his desk. Sure, something up? Miles plopped down next to him. You know, Dad, Christmas is coming. Back at the orphanage, when you found me, they were getting ready too. We didn't have much, just made little crafts and put 'em under the tree for each other. But every kid there wants one real gift. A family. I got that, but they didn't. Could we go back? I checked. I've got tons of toys. We could round up enough for everybody. Victor studied him. You'd give your toys to those kids? Yeah, Dad. Mrs. Rose is awesome and they're all great, but their toys are old and busted. Victor pulled him into a hug. Okay, Miles, we'll go. You don't have to give up your stuff, I'll buy new ones. Miles leaned back. But Dad, that's a ton of money. Not more than you're worth, kid. Miles threw both arms around him. You're the best dad ever. Victor blinked hard, fighting a sting in his eyes. Not now. When they pulled up to the orphanage, Miles went still, taking it all in. Victor couldn't read his thoughts. Daphne stepped out, eyeing the huge van, more like a small bus, with a mix of shock and curiosity. When Victor got out, she gave a hesitant smile. Is Miles okay? Miles hopped down and ran to her. She hugged him, tears slipping out. Miles, you're so big, I almost didn't know you. Mrs. Rose, I'm getting all A's. Victor smirked. Except that B in conduct. Miles brushed it off. Dad, that's not grades, it's just behaviour. I'll work on it, swear. Daphne laughed. You'll get there. And honestly, a B in conduct's not bad. She stood, turning to Victor. So, you're just visiting? Something like that. Miles missed the place. Come on in. Everyone will be thrilled. Miles, you remember Ivy, the little shadow who trailed you everywhere? Yeah. Did she get adopted? Not yet, but you're right on time. Her aunt tracked her down, and after Christmas she's going to live with family. Miles grinned. She always wanted that. What about Rudy, the scrappy one? Oh yeah, we got him into a boxing gym. His coach says he's got real potential. Sweet. Miles lit up, and Victor couldn't help smiling too. His kid didn't grin like that often. Daphne glanced at the van. We didn't come empty-handed. Got any hands to help unload? Victor slid the doors open, revealing stacks of boxes and bags. Daphne gaped. What's all this? She grabbed a box. A toy truck, then another. A puzzle game. Are these Christmas gifts for us? Not just toys, books, some clothes too. It's the holidays after all. Victor gave a shy smile. Handing out gifts with no agenda felt good, but tricky too. When he caught Daphne's eyes, he froze. They were grateful, stunned, misty, alive. He could have kept describing them, but she looked away. He thought, she's barely past 30 and running this whole show. They decided to unload after the kids were asleep, keeping it a surprise. Everyone pitched in, staff, aides, even the old night watchman, Grandpa Gideon. Daphne was like a kid herself. So many dolls. We've got more girls here and good dolls are scarce. They've been sharing the few we've got. Victor knew she was right, and it hit him hard. Why should kids have to wait their turn for a raggedy toy? The next day, he saw their faces light up. He wasn't the mushy type, but right then, he knew he'd bring Miles back every Christmas. And they did. The kids started counting on it. Like Victor said once, no one had ever been that excited to see him. When Miles hit 20, his dad eased him into the family business. He took to it like he was born for it. Victor glowed. Son, you've got the knack. I can tell. At 23, his dad floated expansion. Miles, you and me, we could do big things together while I've still got gas in the tank. We could make a dent. Dad, what's with you? Signing up for the senior centre already? Not yet, but trust me, it creeps up quick. Nah, you'll always be young. About expanding, though, I've got an idea. I scoped out where the competition's thin, and I've got a spot in mind. Victor pulled a chair up as Miles spread a stack of papers across the table. All right, let's see it. Looks like you've done your legwork. Yeah, took a while. Honestly, the folks who built businesses back in the day? Legends. How so? No internet, Dad. Every answer took weeks, or you had to track it down yourself. No way to pull info this fast. Victor chuckled. Fair point. Now it's all instant. Takes the thrill out of it. They burned the midnight oil, hashing it out. When they finally wrapped up, Victor leaned back and fixed Miles with a look. Solid work. Pick your spot and run with it. I'll back you up, but that region's your show. Start a branch, and it's yours to steer. You're serious? Dad, I've barely got any experience. I had zilch when I kicked off, and I was about your age. Go for it, son. The town welcomed Miles with textbook spring vibes. He stepped out of the car, stretching his arms wide. Man, this feels good. It really did. The trees were just starting to bud, a fresh green scent drifting on the breeze. So that's what spring smells like, he said, grinning. He couldn't place spring here from memory. Maybe he didn't get outside much at the orphanage, or maybe it had slipped his mind. He and his dad only ever rolled in during winter, always for Christmas. That reminded him, this Christmas, he'd made a promise to himself. He'd show up at the orphanage with gifts he'd earned with his own cash. His dad had always stuck to the food business, but Miles had bigger plans. Stores stocked with their goods, sure, but also a crack at opening a restaurant. It had been a dream of his since forever. When he'd pitched it, Victor had paused, then said, Well, I can't stop you, and honestly, it sounds pretty damn interesting. Now here he was, parked in his car, flipping through business plans he'd slaved over for months. First step, find a place to crash. The rest could wait. Hotels weren't his thing. He knew the kind of half-baked service he'd get. Miles slid back into the driver's seat and dialed Daphne Rose. Hey, good afternoon. Miles, so good to hear your voice. I'm not far from the orphanage. Any chance I could swing by for a coffee? Why even ask? Of course you can. Everything all right? Yeah, all good. Perfect, come on over. He parked a block away, hit up a bakery, and snagged a little cake. Miles! Daphne hurried over and wrapped him in a hug. You here? And it's not even Christmas, she teased, already bustling around to set out cups and plates. It's like I had a hunch. I grabbed your favourite pastries on my way home today. Actually, I'm here on business. We're looking to set up a company branch in town. Daphne sat down, mulling it over. I don't even know what to say. I think it's a smart move. Jobs are scarce around here and the kids have nothing to keep them busy. But why this place? There are bigger towns nearby. That's the point, it's smack in the middle. Easy to hit all those other spots from here. You're right. Never really saw it like that. Dad said the same thing. Daphne's face lit up, like she'd shed 20 years and wasn't nudging 50. How's Mr. Carter holding up? He's good, sends his best. Tell him hi back. She went quiet, gazing out the window. Miles realized he'd never asked if she had a family of her own. Mrs. Rose, I need a place to rent, somewhere with someone to cook, iron, that kind of stuff. I won't have time to handle it myself. I'd pay good money, obviously. Hang on, let me think. She sat there, tapping her pen on the table for a minute. I've got someone. We had an older lady cleaning here for years. Sweet, quiet, kept everything spotless. It got too tough for her, so she quit. Her place is big and the bills eat up her whole pension. I'll grab her number. 10 minutes later, she was on the phone. Hey, Mrs. May, how are you feeling? Good to hear. She nodded along, listening, then jumped in. Mrs. May, I remember you've got that big apartment. A friend of mine just rolled into town, needs a spot to rent with someone to look after him. She laughed. No, he's grown. Just swamped with work. Needs meals, clean shirts, the basics. Yeah, perfect. I'll send him your address. He'll swing by soon. She hung up and turned to Miles. Sorted. You'll like Mrs. May, I think. Miles stood. Thanks, Mrs. Rose. You've helped me so much, back then and now. Oh, come on, Miles. You and your dad do way more for us for the kids. He was halfway to the door when he paused and turned back. Hey, I've never asked, are you married? Got kids? She studied him for a second, then sighed. Nope. First it was school, then I threw myself into this place. My heart broke for these kids. The guys I dated thought I was nuts and bailed. For a while I'd hold it together here, keep the kids from seeing me upset, but the second I left I'd lose it. So many shattered lives, such awful stories. I kept thinking, later, later. Then one day I looked up, and time had passed me by. But I'm not bitter. A husband's not the point, it's the kids, these little souls who've already been let down so much. Miles could feel how heavy it was for her to say it. He got it. She'd always been like a mama bear with the kids. They flocked to her. Even in the wildest moments, she'd say something soft, and they'd all settle down and listen. People always said about her, born to take care of others. You're the best woman I know, and the kindest, no contest. On impulse, he stepped back and hugged her. She pulled out a hanky, dabbing her eyes. All right, get going. Mrs. May's probably waiting. Miles left her office and headed to his car. Had his dad ever picked up on how Daphne lit up around him? He pulled out his phone. Dad, hey, yeah, I made it, just left Mrs. Rose's. Was it his imagination, or did his dad's voice catch? They talked a bit longer before hanging up. Miles lingered by his car. Maybe I'm clueless, but Dad might be worse. He pulled into the courtyard of an old building, not beat up, but straight up historic. The mouldings above the doors and under the windows were something else. Whoa, this is like living in a museum. Never done that before. He must have been staring too hard because an old lady clocked him. Like it, huh? He turned. A tiny woman stood there, eyes sharp and playful, though her frame was frail as a twig. It's wild. How old is this place? Open your eyes. Bet you'll spot the build date, she said with a grin, showing off a flash of teeth. Miles barely registered them before he caught her drift and cracked up. Missing a giant engraving on the wall was a rookie move. No way. It's over 100 years old. Look at you, cracking the case. Excuse me, Mom, how do I find Mrs. May? Mom, I'm not even 80, not till next year. And I'm Beatrice May. Been standing here half an hour. What road did you take? This town's a 15-minute loop. He laughed again. Beatrice was winning him over quick. Sorry, my bad. It's so nice out here, I got distracted. I come a lot, but never in spring. Her expression softened. Yeah, it's a cute little town, I'll give you that. And I know you visit plenty. Recognized you. You and your dad swung by when I was still working. I know why you come. Miles didn't say anything, and she didn't push. She shuffled toward the entrance, and he hustled to keep pace with the spry old gal. Don't worry, my place is clean and comfy. I handle most of it, but my granddaughter nags me to wait for her. You've got a granddaughter? Course I do. I'm not a hermit, why wouldn't I? Does she live here? Nah, she's on her own. 20, got a job, helps out her old gran. He let out a quiet breath. Good. No one hovering. He could work and unwind in peace. Not that he minded company, but the workload ahead was no joke. Inside, he took it all in. Fascinated. The place felt like a time capsule, maybe stuck in the 50s. Antique furniture, paintings on the walls. Who knew their age? He wouldn't bet against them being worth more than the whole apartment. Come on in. 4 rooms. 1 big, 3 smaller. My bedroom's 1, 2 are free. This one's brighter and bigger. Should work for you. The room was warm and inviting. A massive old bed, solid as a rock. A hulking wardrobe. He figured it'd take a crew to move it. The desk, he crouched to check, had carved legs like tiger paws. Man, this place is unreal, she smirked. What's so great? Just old junk. But her tone gave her away. She adored her home. Let's keep moving, he trailed her. Here's the bathroom, toilet, and the kitchen. Oh, write me a schedule. When you eat, what you like. Just grab the groceries. I mostly stick to oatmeal and spuds. Miles grinned and nodded. He wondered what she'd done for a living, maybe a manager or supervisor. Supervisor popped into his head for no reason, but it fit. He hauled his stuff in from the car, unpacked, and fired up his laptop. Time to scope out local cafes and restaurants, then swing by to check their menus. A couple hours later, Beatrice knocked. "Miles, you didn't give me a food plan. Drop the work. Let's have tea and figure it out." He pushed the laptop aside. She had a point. Priorities first. They sipped strong tea with killer pastries and chatted. "Mrs. May, I'm easy. Cook whatever. I'll be up at random times, but never past 8. I can zap stuff in the microwave if I need to." "No chance. I'm taking your cash and letting you fend for yourself. Not on my watch." "How about I leave money for groceries and you grab what you need? I'm not big on shopping. Get enough of that with work." "Fine, so I just cook whatever?" "Yeah, totally." He slid some cash across the table. Her eyes bugged out. "What, for half a year?" He blinked, caught off guard. "Half a year? Nah, just 2 or 3 weeks. Let me know when you need more." "We'll be eating steak every night then." He laughed. Beatrice had a no-nonsense way of talking, blunt, but her energy made it all click. He caught bits of her rattling around, muttering in the kitchen about crazy prices, then clanging pots as she cooked. Soon a smell hit him that nearly dragged him out of his chair. He wandered in. Beatrice was parked in front of an ancient TV, hooked on a soap opera he swore was older than he was. She glanced over. "Miles, dinner's up in 15, all right?" He flopped on the couch and peeked at the screen. The picture flickered non-stop. He couldn't track the story and his eyes ached. "Mrs. May, how do you watch this? It's torture." "No options. I tried just listening, but it's not the same. Doesn't always glitch. Some days it's fine." She defended the set like it was family. Credits rolled. "That's it. Food's on." The kitchen smells hit him like a truck. He nearly beat her there. A chunky alarm clock blared as they walked in. She whacked it. Yeah, I got it." Seeing his confusion, she shrugged. "Set it whenever something's baking. Haven't burned anything yet, but, age." She said it so offhand it got to him. She'd whipped up meat with mushrooms, peppers, and potatoes. Miles had eaten at fancy joints, but this blew them away. He leaned back on the kitchen couch. "I've never had anything this good," she cackled. "This? Wait till my granddaughter cooks. You'll keel over." "Poison me?" She paused, then lost it laughing. "If she does, it'll be the tastiest poison you ever had." He grinned, curious about this independent granddaughter who cooked like a pro. He'd meet her soon, just not how he pictured. A few days later, he rolled into the courtyard. It had been dumping rain all morning, leaving puddles deep enough to swim in. He didn't spot her in time, or maybe she didn't hear him, but he splashed her hard from a puddle. She leapt back. He stopped, not too torn up, but ready to say sorry. She whipped around, eyes blazing like she'd torch him. He froze, words stuck. "Sorry, didn't see you." She yanked out earbuds, explaining why she hadn't heard him. "Sorry? Are you insane? Flying through here where people walk, kids too?" She hesitated. "And cats? And dogs?" "I wasn't flying, I was creeping along. You saw the puddles. Why hug the edge?" "I'm on the sidewalk where I'm supposed to be." "Look, why are you screaming? I apologized. Need me to pay for dry cleaning?" She stomped her foot. "Pay for a new brain." That crossed a line. "You're the rude one." "Takes one to know one, especially a guy who drives like that." She stormed off. He jumped in the car and pulled away, accidentally hitting another puddle just as she passed. He cringed as muddy water sprayed her. In the rear view, she shook her fist. Parking was a circus. Rain dragged every driver out. His chunky car took some finesse to wedge in. By the time he locked it, the rain had quit, and the sun poked out near sunset, boosting his mood. "So what?" some diva flipped out. "She can yell at her boyfriend later," he mumbled. But those fiery eyes stuck with him. He smirked. Never a dull moment with her around. He jogged up the stairs and unlocked the door. Beatrice handed him a set of keys. "You're young. Might be out late. I'm not playing doorman." Voices drifted from the kitchen. He poked his head in to say hi, and stopped dead. Those same eyes locked onto him. Well, Grandma, this rude jerk's in your kitchen now, staring at me like I'm a ghost. Don't tell me he's your tenant. Beatrice turned, startled, then burst out laughing. I was wondering how to break the ice. Guess you two beat me to it. The girl shot up. Grandma, it's not funny. I just told you he soaked me with a puddle and then yelled at me. Easy, Sage. I can't see him doing it on purpose. Haven't known Miles long, but he seems all right. So, Sage, we know how fired up you get. Go change. Toss that rag, sorry heavens, into the wash. Put on something decent for once. She eyed Sage's ripped jeans with a frown. Miles bit back a grin. Good thing he'd packed decent clothes by Beatrice's rules. As Sage brushed past, he stuck out his tongue where Grandma wouldn't catch it. She flared her nostrils, shot a look at Beatrice, and flashed a fist. I see everything. Beatrice peered over her glasses. Sage huffed and stomped off to the bathroom. Miles straightened his face, trying to look composed. He didn't want Beatrice pegging him as childish as Sage. Don't take it to heart, Beatrice said. Sage is a gem, just lights up like a firecracker. Always has. When she was 15, a car clipped her. Why? Some kid's ball rolled into the street, and he was bawling. This wild girl darted out, saved the ball, handed it back, then passed out cold. Spent a month in the hospital, all because she leaps before she looks. Miles knew it wasn't the brightest move, but hearing that sparked some respect. Clearly it hadn't tamed her. She was still all impulse, heart, and fire. When Sage emerged from the bathroom, Beatrice had slipped off somewhere. Sage stepped into the kitchen, spotted Miles, and froze like she'd been caught. He read it in her eyes. She couldn't duck out now. She slumped onto the sofa across from him. A minute ticked by, maybe 2. Time to thaw things out. Sage, how about we call it even? Am I really the monster you think? I didn't mean to splash you, sorry about that. She blinked, thrown off, then gave a little huff. All right, sorry too. My bad. These earbuds always land me in hot water. He held out his pinky. Truce? She cracked up and hooked hers with his. No more brawling. Beatrice had turned in ages ago, but Sage and Miles were still parked in the kitchen. So, you're hitting up cafes, sampling their stuff? Yep. Sweet gig. He gave her a serious look. Sage, want to tag along and help? She blinked. How? Here's the deal. If I roll in solo, people might get nosy. But with you, they'll just think I'm showing off for a date. You want me to come with? Her eyes went wide, all innocent. That's the idea. If you've got time anyway. But that's gotta cost a fortune. Nah, don't sweat it. Company's footing the bill. She didn't fight it long, just a quick pause. Okay, I'm game. He grinned. She looked ready to clap like a kid. No offense, but do you own an evening dress? I want to kick off with a restaurant. Her cheeks went pink. I'm not broke. I've got one. He backtracked fast. Whoa, didn't mean it like that. You're young. Restaurants probably aren't your scene. Cafes are casual. Why grab a dress you'd barely wear? He stumbled over his words, but she waved it off. It's cool. I snagged one for a friend's wedding not too long ago. To his shock, Sage had flawless manners. He kicked himself for assuming otherwise. She wasn't about to guffaw or mortify him in a classy joint. Still, he was floored watching her switch gears, navigating the spread of silverware like she'd been born to it. They strolled into the restaurant, and Miles clocked it right away, nearly deserted. Odd. It looks decent enough. But the cracks showed fast. Up close, their tablecloth, nice from a distance, was a mess of faded stains. Not new, but enough to kill the mood. Either the owner was broke, stingy, or clueless. It got worse. Despite the empty floor, they waited over 10 minutes for a waiter. When they tried ordering, half the menu was a no-go. Why even list it then? Miles asked. The waiter just shrugged, barely awake. Sage flashed a smile. How about you tell us what you do have so we don't eat up your precious time? The waiter perked up a bit. His pocket buzzed non-stop from his phone, so time was clearly money. He rattled off a short list and they ordered. This place is kind of a downer, Miles said. Sage grinned. You ain't seen nothing yet. Trust me, this is basically the ritziest spot in town. The food landed, and Miles realized his chop came from a cow that had died of old age. probably surrounded by great-grandkids. He shoved it aside and watched Sage dig in. She caught him staring and mumbled, "Didn't eat after work, came straight here." "Where do you work?" She flicked a hand. "Some shop where we stitch up tracksuits." Miles couldn't help himself. "Did you train to be a seamstress?" Sage laughed. "Nah, I always wanted to be a chef, a big-time one, blowing people's minds. But I studied accounting and wound up sewing instead." "That's a wild combo. Why not use the accounting degree?" "You ever tried getting hired fresh out of school? Nobody wants a newbie accountant. They all want a unicorn, 20 years old, killer figure, and 20 years of experience." Miles burst out laughing. "You're kidding, right?" "Not even a bit. Jobs are thin around here." "I'm starting to see that. Think I'll save my teeth the grief. This is enough for me. If anyone in this town can cook, it's your grandma." "Now that's the truth. She's always been a wizard in the kitchen. I had to move back with my folks. If I'd stayed, I'd be a beach ball by now." "You? No way I'd buy that?" "Believe it. I'll dig up some pics later." The waiter dropped a fat bill. Sage's eyes sparked like she'd snap, but Miles squeezed her hand quick and she simmered down. "Hey, kid, is the owner around?" The waiter sighed, probably bracing for a complaint. "Yeah, he's here." "What? I'm 5 minutes late and you're snitching?" Miles smirked. "Yeah, discipline's a bust here. Nah, just pass him a note from me." He jotted a few lines on a ripped notebook page, leaving it open. He knew the waiter'd sneak a peek. Sure enough, the guy glanced at it, eyebrows jumping, then nodded and took off. They stepped outside. "Want a walk?" Sage shrugged. "Sure, it's nice out." They roamed so long Miles's legs begged for mercy. They talked about everything and nothing, but it never dragged. Turns out Sage lived just 3 buildings down from her grandma's place. When they hit her doorstep, Miles paused, looked at her, then pulled her in and kissed her. She didn't flinch. Heading home, he mused how weird it was. He'd kissed a girl he was nuts about and didn't crash at her place. "Miles, this isn't you," he muttered, stepping into his building. "Hey, you the guy eyeing the restaurant?" Miles jolted, flattening against the wall. "Chill, I'm not jumping you." A guy loomed there, tattooed, hard-eyed, fresh out of prison energy. "What do you want?" "I own the place. Want to talk." "Your timing's unreal. There's a daytime for this." "Yeah, but I wanted to look at you. Swing by tomorrow afternoon. We'll sort it." "All right, I'll show." The guy split. Miles kicked himself for waving off the security his dad had offered. He'd call them tomorrow. This reeked of a deal. Sure enough, the next day, he scored the restaurant. Dirt cheap. The owner clapped his hands, beaming. "Man, I don't know jack about this gig. Just got out and boom, inherited it. Barely knew my granddad. Saw him as a kid. Then I was in and out of lockup. He got into business. Been flailing here a year. It's bleeding cash. Owe half the town. With this, I'll square up and hit the coast. Never been. Always caged." The guy acted like he'd just won the lottery. Miles was stoked too. He wouldn't be stuck in town as long as he'd feared. Now he could dig in, not just twiddle his thumbs. He was pumped to start and already had a vision for the place. Oh, and that morning he'd locked down a spot for a base too. Solid price. That night, Sage called. "So we hitting somewhere tonight?" "Yep, but no walking, driving." "Where to?" "You'll see, Miss Curious." "Oh, don't you start," she laughed. "Half an hour outside your place," he said. "Yes, sir." They cruised out of town. He was heading home tomorrow to grab equipment. Tons to do. Sage didn't know yet. When he pulled up by a little lake he'd stumbled on, she shot him a confused look. "What, a picnic? Or are we taste testing here too?" "Taste testing, sort of. Tonight I'm cooking you my killer kebabs." She clapped her hands. "I love kebabs. Love being out here." He couldn't hold back, kissed her again. They sat by the water, sipping wine, cracking up. Then Sage got quiet. "Miles, how you driving? You've been drinking." He blinked, caught off guard. "Figured we'd crash here. Look, I've got to head home tomorrow for a couple weeks. Won't see you for a bit." He knew he sounded like a sappy teen, but Sage ate it up. Tears brimmed in her eyes. He brushed one away as it slid toward her collar. "See? I snagged that restaurant, so now I've got to gear it up. It's not forever. I'm planning to settle here. For real? Dead serious. She leaned in and he scooped her up. For a beat, he just held her gaze, then carried her to the car. Miles. Yeah? I've never been with anyone. A jolt ran through him. Talk about a curveball. He hadn't either, not like this. His head buzzed. Nothing could stop him now. They didn't sleep a wink. When he dropped her off, she hung on to him. Rest up. Don't drive like this. Promise. You? She smiled. Day off. I'm out cold soon as I hit the bed. He kissed her soft. Good night. More like good morning. He crashed for 2 hours before the alarm screamed. Cold shower, up. Beatrice was out, but a note sat on the kitchen table. At the market, back after lunch. Perfect. No awkward grandma vibes. He left some cash with a scrawl. Thanks, I'm off. Get yourself a decent TV. His dad greeted him like he'd been gone a decade. Son, you're different. Grown. Dad, it's been like 10 days. I matured that quick? You left my kid and came back a restaurant owner. Come on, spill it, show me everything. Aunt Clover, the housekeeper since forever, cut in. Where are you hauling this boy, starving and chilled from the road? Victor threw up his hands. Fine, feed your boy, the 6-foot version. Man, he'd missed her. And his dad. Margot swung by a few times, Clover said. Miles, slurping her legendary beef stew, arched a brow. Oh? What did she want? Kept asking where you went, even said she'd tag along. He snorted. For what? You tell me. Must be something. He liked Margot. Drop-dead gorgeous, sharp, a perfect fit for a businessman. A little money-hungry, sure, but who wasn't these days? Or were they? Sage's face flashed in his head. He pushed it out. Sage was the best thing going, no question, but a fling. No way they'd last. Too simple, too green. Her chilling at home while he worked the room solo. Nah. Those nights called for someone like Margot. Maybe Margot herself. The evening was all photos and plans with his dad. Victor pored over them, nodding. You've nailed this. And got that restaurant for peanuts. He tapped a map. No competition close, right? Nope, but plenty to tap into. Miles pointed. Check it. Arcade nearby. We need a kids menu, some flyers. Start with party bookings. Figure the rest later. Son, you're brilliant. Didn't even hit me. Kids menu, absolutely. They yapped a bit more before crashing. Big day ahead. Margot ambushed him near lunch. Hey, where'd you disappear to? Out of town, setting up a branch. Cool. Why no heads up? I could have come. She smirked with those full lips. He grinned back. Would you have? With you? Anywhere. For real? Dead serious? All right, be ready in 2 weeks. He walked off. Margot snatched her phone. Time to tell her crew he'd practically popped the question. 2 weeks didn't happen. Not even 3 months. The day before they were set to roll, his dad had a stroke. He'd come home early, feeling off, and crumpled on the walkway. Clover spotted him, called 911, didn't budge him. Smart move kept it mild. Margot had to wait. When Victor bounced back, Miles started packing again. Margot figured her shot had come. She was ready before he was. Truth be told, she was wearing thin, but he held his tongue. As a +1, she was gold. Back home, he'd scoped a sweet cottage he planned to buy outright. Margot didn't know. Right before leaving, he'd had a blowout with his dad. She must have overheard and thought they'd split. She'd popped by later, just visiting at first. They'd had a blast then. She'd dip when boredom hit. He'd liked that deal. A stunning, stylish girlfriend when he wanted. Freedom to grind otherwise. Then she moved in with her junk. He couldn't exactly say no. She turned his place into a neon trash heap. No housekeeper could deal with her. The house was chaos. He'd stay late at work, but she'd show up there too. He laid it out, dropped by uninvited, and he'd cut her allowance. She pouted for a week or two, but when she needed cash, she'd make up the usual way. A way he, young and restless, couldn't turn down. Today had been fine. God knows how she sniffed it out, though why be shocked? He bought orphanage gifts every year. She knew the drill. She'd never cared before, but now she'd lost it. He was about to bolt his office when his phone rang. God, not again. He grabbed it. His dad. Yeah, Dad? Miles, what's up? Nothing. Why do you think something's off? Son, I've known you since day one. Talk. Miles laughed. Dad always had his number. Fine. What do you do when a woman's gunning for marriage, control your whole life, and you're not into it? Margot, huh? Well, what did you expect? Your mess. How long's it been? Years. No ring. But I never meant to. Should have made that clear. Dad. Miles, you're not a kid. Own it. I get Margot. Clock's ticking, and you're waffling. Marry her or, honestly, I don't know how this ends. It'll get ugly. I hear you, but today locked it. I don't want her around anymore. Your move. Far as I know, there's no one else. Nah, hadn't crossed my mind. Still doesn't. Nope, Dad, I'm sure now. Today was the nail in the coffin. Guess no grandkids for me then, Miles cracked up. So this is all about you, not me. Take it how you want. Dad, why'd you really call? Not just Margot. No, you're hitting the orphanage tomorrow, right? Yeah. Did you forget the date? Nah, just felt like tagging along this time. Miles stood up. You know I'd love that. Can I ask something? Shoot. Why haven't you come since I moved here? Is it Mrs. Rose? He heard his dad huff over the line. You could say that. I screwed up big time. I liked her. A lot. She liked me too. No hiding it. So I offered to make her my mistress. Promised she'd live like a queen if she came with me. She just echoed, Mistress? And I, like a total moron, said yeah. Miles reeled. No way, what did she do? Slapped me and told me to get out. Said never show my face again. I got pissed. Me, shot down. Years later, I'm old and I still can't shake her. Dad, I'm not sure which of us is the bigger idiot. Victor chuckled. You're not wrong. So, you expecting me tomorrow? Yeah, I'll tie up some loose ends today. Driving home, Miles resolved to ditch Margot for good. He never rolled in this early, but he wanted it over. He steeled himself for a fight. She wouldn't go quietly. He'd even toss her some cash to smooth it over. The house was silent. He figured she was out with her crew. Wasted trip. Then her voice drifted from the bedroom, on the phone, he assumed. He headed that way. Baby, why are you mad? I can't help it. This guy's dragging his feet. What am I supposed to say? Marry me fast because I'm pregnant. What if he catches the lie before the ring's on? Miles stopped cold. Who's she spilling this to? Which friend? Then a guy's voice cut in, right there in the room. Margot, you've been jerking me around for a year. You think I'll just wait? I've got better options. Miles kicked the door open. Am I interrupting? Margot yelped, yanking the blanket up. A dark-haired, pretty boy fumbled into his clothes. Nah, I'm out. This ain't my drama. He slid past Miles, who didn't bother stopping him. Well, Margot? This is your fault, you get that? Not arguing, just curious. Need help packing? Or you good? I'm not leaving. Kick me out and you're toast. Humiliated. Forgot the cameras? I know you never check 'em, but you might now. You're garbage, you jerk! She started grabbing stuff, chucking it into suitcases. Miles watched, smirking. She really thinks I'd put cameras in the bedroom. Oh, Margot. 2 hours later, after a storm of screams and curses, she climbed into a taxi. Miles exhaled. Freedom tasted sweet. Time to swing by the orphanage, check on Prep. He hopped in the car. Who is that guy? Who cares? He pulled up to the gates. The kids weren't back yet, but Daphne would be inside. She always handled the tree setup and decorating herself. He ambled up the path, stopping to scratch a massive shaggy mutt, fittingly named Dog. The kids had found him as a pup under the fence, nursed him, fed him, stashed him from the staff until he got too big for the beds. Daphne nearly keeled over when she saw the beast. She'd called the shelter, then Miles. He'd shown up and the kids, sobbing, swarmed him. Miles, tell Mrs. Rose, don't let her take our pal away. Boy, Rex, a million names. Hang on, what's the dog's real name? We all call him something different. Got it. He's Dog, then. How'd you hide him so long? Doesn't he bark? Nope, never. Daphne had jumped in fast. See? I told you he's sick or something. I'll fire every last one of you. He's not sick, they swore. The little ones were bawling by then, so Miles hauled Dog to the vet. The pup was fine, chubby even. But why no barking? No reason to. He's got it made. They teamed up to talk Daphne out of dumping him or calling the shelter. So Dog stayed, mostly outdoors, crashing at an old lady's place. Anyone with a scrap fed him, which explained why he looked more like a bear than a dog. Miles reached the door. He had to ease Daphne into the news that his dad was coming tomorrow. No ambushes. Years ago, when she'd heard about Victor's stroke, she'd nearly lost it. Miles regretted telling her 100 times. The hallway was quiet, but voices floated from the assembly hall. He headed over. Daphne and her crew were decking out the tree. "Hey, everybody!" The girls waved and kept at it, but Daphne shot him a startled glance. "Miles, weren't you coming tomorrow?" "Yeah, but I went with today." She didn't finish her thought. Something snagged Miles's eye, rustling in the lower branches. "Hey, come on out!" He crouched and the limbs parted. A gutsy little boy stepped out, maybe 3 or 4. He glared at Miles like he'd just robbed a bank, and Miles felt like he had. His brain spun with 1,000 wild ideas, the least crazy one looping. What's happening? Am I dreaming? Or is this a setup? The kid planted himself in front of Miles, staring with unblinking eyes that were dead ringers for his own. Words failed him. The boy was a tiny clone. They had to be linked, but how? This wasn't some random kid. His dad might know something, but Daphne probably had the key. She looked spooked for a reason. Miles scratched his nose with the back of his hand, a nervous habit he'd fought forever. Stress turned it raw. Then, like a mirror, the boy reached up and scratched his nose the same way. Miles turned to Daphne. "Mrs. Rose, who's this kid? One of yours?" She fidgeted. "Why are you asking?" "Because the way you're dodging me says you know why I'm asking. What's up and where this is going? Don't tell me you don't see the resemblance." She stared at the boy, then at Miles. "Resemblance? I don't see it." "Oh, come on. Just my imagination, then. Should I call someone else to weigh in?" He didn't know why he was getting heated. She wasn't the bad guy. But she had to know this kid's story. If he wasn't tied to Miles, why was she so rattled? The boy stepped closer and held out a candy. "Don't yell." Miles took it, disarmed. "Thanks. I'm not yelling. And I won't." He faced Daphne again. A crazy idea hit. Dad and Daphne? Nah, they're too old for that. "Mrs. Rose, where'd he come from? You see how much we look alike? Anyone could tell we're not strangers. What, or who, connects us? If someone dumped him here, I'll flip this place to find out." "He wasn't dumped, and he's got nothing to do with you." That voice. He'd know it anywhere. How many times had he almost called or texted an apology, only to chicken out? He hadn't promised her a thing. But she hadn't reached out either. She could have. Now, realizing Sage was behind him, he was too scared to turn around. It clicked. A kid who looked like him. Sage, who he'd hooked up with and ghosted. No detective work needed. It was obvious. Her tone screamed trouble, and he had it coming. He watched the boy zip around him to Sage. "Mommy!" She scooped him up, clutching him tight. Their eyes finally locked. "Hi, Sage." "Hi, Miles." She turned and walked out. He stood there like a chump. What was he supposed to do? Chase her? Yell, "Oh, hey, that's my kid." He could hear her now. Dumbass. Daphne sighed beside him. "Come on, Miles, let's hit my office. I'll brew you some tea." He trailed her, brain in a haze. She made the tea, plunked a mug down, sat, and started talking. "I don't even know. All this time we've ragged on you for what you did to Sage and Theo. But seeing you now, I feel bad for you too, you big dope." "His name's Theo?" "Yeah, Sage named him after her grandpa." "Why didn't she tell me? I had no clue. Things could have been so different." She sighed. "Different how, Miles? You'd marry her for a kid and both be miserable forever? Or snatch Theo from her?" "What? That's insane. Why would I take him from his mom?" "Here's the deal. Sage went to your place. She was a wreck. Theo was real sick. Her grandma was laid up, and she was falling apart. Money was tight. His treatment was way past what we could cover. Beatrice signed over her apartment, told her to sell it. They barely moved out when her grandma died. Sage kept it together, took him to Boston for 6 months. They patched him up. Wait, she didn't come to me. You think I'd turn her away? There was a woman there, some girl. Clocked it fast and told Sage if she ever showed up again, she'd make sure the kid got taken. Margot. Miles grabbed his head, sitting like that for a minute before looking at Daphne with pained eyes. What do I do now? No idea, Miles. I'm lousy with advice here, but you've got to do something. I see how wrecked you are. Why's my son upset? His dad's chipper voice cut through out of nowhere. Miles looked up, his fake smile fading. Son, what's wrong? He didn't know how to spit it out. Dad, I've got a son. You've got a grandson. Victor dropped into a chair. How? Daphne jumped up, handing him water. He took it, holding her gaze a beat too long. Thanks. She flushed and sat back down. Miles laid it out. No steamy details, just enough to show what a jackass he'd been. Yeah, son, that's a bombshell. What's your next move? No clue, Dad. I've got to do something, but Sage probably won't even let me near the door. Victor eyed him. She'd have every right not to. Never thought I'd say this, but don't pull my stunts. Way back, I could have been happy. Made someone else happy too. But I let dumb rules get in the way. We lost years. Almost a lifetime. Now I'm not leaving here without Daphne. We might not have long, but it's better than nothing. You've already missed out on your kid this long. Time to step up. Don't bullshit Sage. She's been through enough because of you. If you don't love her, say it. Don't marry her without it. Be straight, and I bet she'll let you see Theo. Miles shot up. Dad, you're right. Glad you think so. He bolted out. Victor turned to Daphne. Hey, Daphne. Hey, Vic. That's it. I'm not leaving without you. You might wrestle with forgiving me for that stupid offer, but I'll keep trying. She pursed her lips, stubborn, then softened. Oh, Vic. I kicked myself so hard for saying no. I didn't want your money, just you. It was hell without you, unbearable. I cursed myself for not going. If I'd been there... Victor dipped his head. Guess being a fool runs in the family, me and Miles both. She smiled. Don't sweat it, they'll figure it out. And you know, I'm not sure about Miles, but Sage still loves him. Daphne, why didn't you tell me? I'd have fixed everything for her and my grandson. She wouldn't take your help. She's... different. Miles tore through town. He knew Sage's address, just not what to say. Spotting a toy store, he slammed the brakes. He burst in, startling the teenage cashier. Hey, stuff for a boy, 3 or 4. What kind? Everything. Grab me the best you've got. He parked but couldn't climb out right away. Dread pinned him. After 10 minutes, he forced himself up. I'm a man. I've got to face this. He rang the bell forever until the door flew open. You. Me. He edged past Sage into the apartment. Theo toddled out, eyeing the stack of boxes in Miles's arms. Miles knelt down. Hey. Hey. Brought you some stuff? For me? Yeah, you. Theo brushed a box with his fingers, then glanced at Sage. Tears glistened in her eyes. She'd dreamed of this, her son with Miles. No crying. Theo looked to her and she smiled and nodded. He let out a happy squeak, and Miles couldn't help grinning. 5 minutes later, the floor was a war zone of ripped boxes, cars, robots, pure mayhem. Every new toy triggered whoops of joy from Theo and Miles alike. Sage perched on the couch, fighting a smile. But watching Miles scoot around, making goofy tractor noises and Theo roaring back with his giant truck, she caved. When their toys collided for the 10th time, she drew the line. All right, you two speed demons. Hands washed, lunch is up. Aw, Mom. Theo's pout kicked in, but Miles gave him a playful nudge. What's that face? Every job's got a lunch break, especially for drivers. Theo peered up at him. You too? Me too. And if you clean your plate, I'll let you steer a real car. Theo's eyes popped wide. They bolted to the bathroom. Lunch was calm, well, except for Theo's non-stop chatter. Miles learned his own toy bragging days were over. Theo's haul had him beat. By the end, Theo's head was bobbing. Sage scooped him up and slipped out. Miles caught his sleepy, not tired, and her, oh, sure you're not. 10 minutes later he peeked in, Theo was zonked, cuddling his truck. Sage stared off, then snapped to and brushed past him to the kitchen. He trailed her. Sage, I don't know how to say this. Words feel cheap. I know I don't deserve a second chance. She stayed quiet. He stepped closer. Say something. You know I'm not walking out on you two now. She turned slow, locking eyes with him, silent for a beat before asking, You sure you're in for this? Dead sure. Never been more certain of anything. Sage, I've torched every shot I had, messed it all up, but let me make it right. I won't block you from seeing Theo whenever you want. That's not enough. Her brows shot up, a hint of panic in her voice. What are you after? To take him? No, God, no. I want us to be a real family. You know, the whole deal. She pulled back. If it's just for Theo, don't bother. It's not about him right now. She tried to sidestep, but he drew her in. Kissing her, a peace settled over him, like coming home after years lost. His phone buzzed and he groaned but fished it out. His dad. Miles, where you at? With Sage and Theo, Dad. Good. She's there? Yeah. Speaker. Crank it. Miles hit the button, confused. Sage, I'm sorry. For me and my bonehead son. Forgive him. Don't let this slip. I'm dying to play Grandpa. She cracked a small smile. Victor kept going. Called with news. Daphne and I just filed for marriage. Hustle up, and we can do a double wedding. He hung up. Sage gave Miles a funny look. He held her stare. Sage, I'll say all the stuff I should have said later. You're fast with decisions. Marry me. I'll make damn sure you never regret it, that Theo forgets I was ever gone. She didn't waver long. Yes. He swept her up, twirled her, then grabbed the phone. Dad, save us a slot. Theo's up soon. We're coming. I'm awake. Miles spun around. Theo stood in the doorway, bleary-eyed, clutching his truck. Miles grinned. Dad, we're on our way? Calling him Dad felt so easy. Theo studied him, serious. You're my dad? Yeah, Theo. Where were you? Miles shot Sage a helpless glance. She knelt by her son. Dad was working. Now he's back. He won't leave again. Miles shook his head firm. Never. Theo chewed on that. Can I tell Jasper I've got a dad too? You bet. We'll tell him together. Miles wrapped his arms around his son's little frame. The rush, huge, almost choking him up. The next day they hit the orphanage. The kids were still at breakfast as Miles, Sage, and Victor spread out gifts. Miles gripped Sage's hand tight with one of his, sorting packages with the other. Victor watched, smiling. He saw it all. Yesterday had been a high. He felt 20 years lighter. The door flew open. Victor hit play on a bouncy Christmas tune just in time. Kids flooded in, stopping short, wide-eyed at the tree and gifts. They didn't charge, just gawked, stunned. Sage took the lead, Miles right with her. Pink packages for girls, blue for boys. When everyone, Theo included, had theirs, Miles turned to Sage. Got something for you, too. He pulled a small box from his pocket. Sorry, didn't grab it yesterday, didn't know if you'd boot me out. Never dreamed we'd be this happy today. Can I put it on? She held out her hand. He slid on a stunning ring, then kissed it. They didn't clock Daphne and Victor nearby, arms looped around each other, watching. Dad, help! Miles blinked, jolted. It took a sec to click that Theo meant him. He beamed and crouched. Sure thing, bud, what's up? That town had never seen a wedding like it. Of course, it was at Miles's restaurant, now the hottest joint around. Guests poured in, maxing out every hotel. Florists stared at empty racks in panic. They signed the papers right there on the restaurant's front patio. 3 guys stood by the doors, 2 grown, 1 small. 3 generations, all on the brink of happy. They rocked black tuxes. Even Theo, who clung to his dad's hand proud, then grabbed his grandpa's too after a quick think. Dad, shouldn't they be here already? Feels that way. Should have made us all ride together. Yeah, Theo piped up deadpan. Mum's never late. Miles grinned. Victor cracked up. Well, Miles, sounds like your Sage'll get my Daphne here on the dot. A long white limo rolled into the lot. Theo gasped. Whoa, that's a monster car. They walked over. Miles opened the door, Offering Sage his hand, she looked at him, then took it. Daphne stepped out next. Theo sized them up. "You're pretty today, but I'm sharper." Everyone laughed. Victor jumped in. "No question there." Theo grabbed Sage and Daphne by the hands, towing them toward the waiting crowd, where they'd turn into husbands and wives. The wedding was cool, sure, but the sooner it wrapped, the sooner he could get back to his cars.